Hey guys, it's Justin back with an engineer's perspective. So I've completed the rope cut edge retention testing on this mini Crooked River and S30V using the KME. There's a decent amount of scatter in the data, so I did a third test. So I ran it 3 times, going up to the 1500 diamond plate, and then stropping for 0.5 micron kangaroo leather strops on this. The starting sharpness for all of them was, the average was 115, and then like 73 or something. One was really low. And then cut 10 cuts, tested, 10 more cuts, tested. So the results of the KME test are the average of the absolute increase, so the ending BESS score minus the start BESS score. The absolute increase was 184 grams, plus or minus 34 at 80% confidence interval. And confidence interval takes standard deviation, marries it up to a normal distribution, and adjusts it depending on how confident you want to be in that statistical variance. But that gives you a pretty good idea of the variability that's in the data. So now we're going to go on to the work sharp here. I'm going to try to match the progressions as similarly as I can. So I've got an X55, which is about the same as a 140 grit diamond plate. Then the 45 is the same as the 300. 22 is the same as the 600. And then the 1500 diamond is about a 10 micron, but unfortunately I have to skip up to 5 micron. I'm gonna skip right over the 4 micron strop. Then instead of 1.5 micron strop, I'm gonna do this 12,000 grit, which is about 2 micron with chrome oxide on it. And then we're gonna end on, where is it? Oh, I got it right over there. A 1 micron diamond strop instead of the 0.5 micron. So I'll show you the progression here. It's in the video description. Go look down there. So you can see how here's the KME grit and here's the equivalent that I'm using. I wrote 2 micron for the 12,000 grit. I'm just gonna rewrite that because I can. And then the last thing to note there, so all of the X dadas are Norax belts with alumina oxide. The 12,000 grit, however, is silicon carbide. And then obviously the strop has diamonds on it, like I mentioned. I'm just gonna grab it. So that's 1 micron gunny juice and chrome oxide on there. So my hope is that S30V has a lot of carbide, but it's got a decent dollop of vanadium carbide in it. Probably 14.5 total carbide, 5% of or 4% of that is probably vanadium carbide, roughly. So these aluminum oxide belts are not gonna shape that vanadium carbide. However, this silicon carbide is a lot harder than aluminum oxide is. It's about 2,500 Vickers, and vanadium carbide is 2,600 Vickers. So what I'm hoping is this stuff will leave kind of an extra stressed edge, but I'm hoping that this 2 micron silicon carbide belt and then the 1 micron diamond belt will be able to remove enough of that overly de-stressed or overly stressed out metal, and then shape the vanadium carbides right at the end, so that you get a decent result. So that's the idea with the progression. I sharpened this at 18 degrees per side on the KME. I just got done with the X65 belt, reprofiling it to 18 degrees per side on the work sharp. I say reprofiling because it is a convex edge that's going on. And what that means is this angle of the plate of this these 2 pulleys is 18 degrees per side, but when you add flex into it, then you're basically increasing your angle. So technically it is above, it's more obtuse than 18 degrees per side, but at the moment, I don't have a good way of accounting for that. So we're just gonna take that in mind in the rope cut test and just see what happens. So 18 degrees per side on this guy, on X65. Now to the X45, just to, like I said, match that progression a little bit. I haven't perfected like S30V on this thing. I've only, I haven't. So we're gonna see how this goes. I've got a plan for it, but we'll see. So I'm just gonna take you along for the ride because you gotta see the KME, so let's go. Raised a burr immediately, which is how this system usually goes. But just did 3 passes per side to remove some of those scratches. X22. Okay. So some quick tips or whatever is you may notice I'm kind of, when I come down to the reference table, I'm just going to show it on this. I kind of tap it a few times because if you just say, oh, there I'm flat, when you pick it up, your muscles will have a slight tendency to torque it a little bit. Because like if I'm trying to hold it flat, like it's flat against the table, but as soon as I lift it up, I was actually pushing the back down harder than the front. So I like to tap so I can make sure my muscles are in a neutral position so that when I release from the table, I don't twist it one way or the other. So, and I'm using the flat of this crooked river, not the grind. But you could measure the angle of the grind and then take that into account if you'd like. I didn't do that. So there you go. There's a tip. So on to the X5. Yeah, all this is at the lowest speed, by the way, which I think is 1200 standard square inches per minute or something. I don't remember what it is. Or square inches per minute. All right, so yeah, like I said, X22, this is the X5. I switched to the alternating to really reduce the burr on that 600. I didn't want to leave it all up to the X5 or X22. So now onto the X5. And this is where it's going to start to get a little bit tricky. I'm going to do a little bit of a different, excuse me, technique than we normally would do. Than I have been doing with this KME. God dang, I cannot get that straight. With this work sharp, because normally at this point, I would pull the edge through the wooden table to pull off that burr and then refine it just a teeny bit more without generating a burr on this X5 and then go to the strop stuff. But we're not gonna do that here today. Try something a little bit different. And I'm gonna use the tip for the test, so I'm testing the tip here. Yep, 175, so that's right where you think it would be, because it's got some burr on it. So, I guess that's where it belongs on this side. So I think I'm gonna be done with the X5. We may have to come back, because like I said, I have not optimized this process. So what I'm gonna do is, right now it's set to 18 degrees per side. I'm actually gonna knock that down a ½ degree. And then put on this 12,000 grit 2 micron micro mesh belt. same speed. My hopes is that I'll be matching the angle. You know what, I might even go back a full degree. I'm gonna go back a full degree, and my hopes is to match the angle because this is quite a bit more flexible than the other belts. And then I'm gonna get a little bit more aggressive with the apex with the 1 micron diamonds. Let's see what happens here. Also with this belt, the burrs facing up this way, it actually seems to work fairly nicely to reduce the burr out that direction. So start working with the burr instead of against it on this belt. So my fingers are telling me it's not nearly sharp enough. Excuse me. I've really got a frog in my throat this morning. But we're gonna try to best test our progress here. That's so much easier on this side. I'm just gonna have to move it back and forth to kind of just keep track of what we're doing. Also, just to be consistent, I've got a mark here that I like. $125. Okay, we're really getting in that range already. That's not in the way. Well, I think it's time to move on. It's done a pretty good job of reducing that down. I think. It's hard to say, because normally what I would do is I would just keep going and see where I end up and then adjust from there. But I don't want to take the time for this video, so I'm just hoping that my original plan works out. So this is a cloth belt that had nothing on it to start with. And then I put chrome oxide on it originally. And then I put 1 micron diamond gunny juice on it afterwards. So I sharpened this knife at 18 degrees per side. Then with the micro mesh belt, I decreased it to 17 degrees per side because it was more flexible. And now I'm going up to 17.5 degrees per side because this is also more flexible. Hopefully to kind of get the root of the burr out and take off that stressed metal. So I'm just gonna do one pass per side and BESS test. We're gonna try to take this a little bit slow. If I have to finish on a 0.5 micron strop, like by hand, then I'm down for that. That's okay to me. But let's see what we can do here. So that's one per side. Let's see what we did. $130, not a whole lot of anything. We're really losing our aggression now, guys. Really losing the aggression on the edge. $125, $130. $110. Okay, so that's where we want it to be. 110. So there you go. I'm gonna test it twice more here for you guys. Just gonna give myself a little bit of working room here so we can get a real average. So this is the worst freaking pen. Work Sharp KO 1 start 110. $125. $125. So an average of probably, you know, let's see, 250, 360, 120. Yeah, so it's an average of 120. So the other averages on the KME were 115s, two of them were, so I feel pretty good about that. Now we're ready to do the edge retention test. So I'm gonna do that in a separate video for you guys to enjoy. So in the next video, I will do the first edge retention test live, and then I will resharpen and do the rest of the tests not live. So anyways, that's all I've got today. I'm looking forward to seeing what this does. Like I said, it's not, there's some bite, but it's pretty weak. It's not great, so I wouldn't like this edge. But I don't know, maybe I'll slightly change up the protocol on the next one, but it's all about that end score. So anyways, that's all I've got for you guys. Thanks, bye.